Hello everyone and welcome to another really wild game from round 4 of the 2021 Tata Steel Chess Tournament. It's Aryan Tari versus Alireza Firouzja, and this game features two very special paused video moments, so let's just dive straight into it and reach them as soon as possible. So Tari with the white pieces opens with e4 and Firouzja goes for the Caro-Kann. That's not a Caro-Kann. c6. We have d4, d5 and now e5, the advanced variation against the Caro-Kann. Bishop to f5 and now knight to f3. So as the bishop has been developed, you no longer need to keep an eye on these light squares, so you close the position with e6. And now the bishop is here. White may choose to attack it at some point, but also can just continue developing. So bishop to e2 by Tari, and knight to e7, preparing to bring this knight over to g6. We have c3 by Tari, and Firouzja goes for knight to g6 as planned. Castles, and now knight to d7, continuing development. And here knight to e1. Knight to e1 already with a deadly threat of g4. g4 would trap the bishop on f5, so Alireza needs to figure out how to defend it. He defends it with h5, blocking g4, and here bishop to e3. Now this position has been reached before. c5 is a known move here, h4 is a known move here, but here Alireza goes for queen to b6, and queen to b6 is a new move in the position. So already as of move 9 we have a completely new game. Here Tari, as the b2 pawn is under attack, he defends it, he pushes it to b3. And now Alireza goes for f6, which is very interesting, as his own king is still in the center of the board and he's opening up the center. But if it works, why not? And one of the reasons the pawn was pushed to h4 in the other games that were played is because the pawn is under attack, so you might want to attend to that. But Alireza doesn't. Alireza just gives it up, and Tari grabs it. With bishop captures on h5, now pinning the knight here. And while you could castle, Alireza says there's always time for that. We have f captures on e5. And now, what do you play here? Well, there's the safe option, bishop captures on g6, and we're going to show this because it's safe. For example, captures, and now captures on e5, attacking the queen. And after queen to c7 with a double attack here, you can defend it with f4. And it's basically the kind of position that Alireza wanted to play. He will castle queenside. He's going to have a nice open h file for attacking the white king, and this is what he was going for. But Tari says, nope, we're going to go for the incredibly sharp g4. And now Alireza's bishop here has nowhere to go. If you go to e4, it's not a problem. The bishop can be further attacked with knight to d2, with f3, and so on. So here we have the absolute best move by Alireza, rook captures on h5. So now you have to capture the rook. If you capture the bishop, then rook captures it. You don't really gain anything by this. So g captures on h5 and knight to f4 now. It's an incredibly strong knight, so we'll see what happens with it. D captures on e5 now with a double attack on the queen and on the knight here. And before you move the queen, you have to play knight to h3 check. It is the only good move here for Alireza. So he goes for it, knight to h3 with check. King to g2, and now as the queen is still under attack, you can either move the queen, block with bishop to c5, or play the move Alireza played, which is c5. At some point you want to play queen to c6, put your queen on the same diagonal as the king, and advance this pawn to d4, if white allows it, of course. So here f4, strengthening this central e5 pawn, and here queen to c6 by Alireza. So he's not in a rush to castle, there's always time for that. He wants to now take advantage of this and get this d4 move in. So here knight to f3, preventing any checks, and only now Alireza castles. And now it's a question, how do you play this? Who is better here? Can white attack and black attack? What's happening here? The white king is here very, very bravely placed on g2. So let's see how Tari deals with this. He plays knight b to d2. And now, can Alireza somehow take advantage of this? It's still very much too early for d4 because the square is defended 3 times. Well, twice actually, because the knight is pinned. But it doesn't seem to bring anything to Alireza. So first, knight to b6. And now here king to g3 seems to be like an incredibly strong move, but king to g3 is a disgusting engine move, so we're not going to look into that. But just sidestepping the light square diagonal and claiming that you are very safe on g3. But okay, here Tari goes for queen to e1, and now we have bishop to e7. Here Alireza could go for the instant d4, for example, after c captures, now knight d5, and here everything is under attack. This is attacked twice, there's pressure on the bishop, maybe bishop to d3 is an idea. So really a lot of wonderful things happening here. The problem is after this rook to c1, could white do anything about this? But it doesn't seem so. After king b8, Alireza's king seems to be very safe. But instead, after queen to e1, we have bishop to e7 first by Alireza. So first developing the bishop, he can always play this d4 move. And now rook to c1. So the rook is already placed here, but now Alireza plays d4 nonetheless. And it seems like this is not an issue for him. So here c captures on d4, and now knight to d5. The knight is brought into the attack. The f4 pawn is attacked twice. So knight to c4, going after that d6 square, and now knight d captures on f4 with check. Bishop captures, although you could just go king to h1, but okay, bishop captures, knight captures with check, and now king to g1. Sidestepping check and also getting away from this diagonal. And here we have bishop to g4. Rook captures on d4 seems to be another very interesting move for Alireza, because the rook cannot be captured, because queen to g2 will be checkmate. The knight covers the g2 square. But instead, Alireza goes for this very nice bishop to g4. First pins the knight, as now the knight is attacked twice. I say pin because the knight cannot move because of checkmate. So here, rook to c3, adding another defender to the knight, and only now rook captures on d4. And now, what do you play here? Tari went for knight to d6 with check, but Firouzja just ignores him. King to b8, and now queen to e3. A very nice centralizing move with the queen, asking what do you want to do here. So here, Alireza played bishop to g5, but now there's really nothing to be done here. This is just a winning position for white, but it's very hard to pinpoint why it's a winning position for white. So we've reached our first beautiful moment of the game, where you can feel free to pause the video and try to find the absolute best move for white while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, as this is such a weird move to play that I don't know if any of you found it. If you have, then truly congratulations. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the only winning move for white is king to h1, and this is just stupid. Going under the mask of the black queen, what does this move do? Well, in order to tell you what it does, first I'm going to show you what happens if you don't play it, and then it's going to be pretty much self-explanatory. For example, if you play something like queen captures on d4, which is the threat you actually want to play, queen captures on d4, hoping for pawn captures, and then you win the black queen. Problem is, knight to e2 check wins the queen. So you get your queen nicely forked, and that's just game. Black wins the game. So in order to avoid this and to be able to take advantage of this threat, you just sidestep the check. King to h1. Now there's no knight to e2 with check, and this rook cannot move. Next move, you're gonna capture it. If you move it, just captures on c5. Queen moves anywhere. Rook to c8 is checkmate. So, of course, black cannot allow this. So here, there would be very few moves black can play. There is a fun line, bishop to h3, going for bishop to g2 with check, but just captures on d4. Bishop g2 check, or rather, we could even go bishop captures on f1, grabbing that rook, but now queen to e4. And now you have to trade queens because the bishop on g5 is hanging, and after captures, the bishop is still hanging. You have to go back, and now black has this problem that white is up the exchange, and white's position is very much winning. So this is what Tari had in the position after Alireza played bishop to g5. However, Tari went for rook captures on c5. I have to mention they were both extremely low on time here, so you have to play incredibly fast. It's only move 28, and they need move 40 to reach time control to be granted those additional 40 minutes. And now, of course, if you move the queen somewhere weird, a rook to c8 will be checkmate. So you have to play something very, very precise here, but there is only, of course, one good move. Queen captures on c5. Point being that rook to c1 does not equal checkmate, because the black queen will not move. Black will just play rook to d1 check, and now you've exposed your queen to the attack, and this is just lost for white. For example, if king f2, you just go rook to d2 with check. The queen cannot capture, the queen is pinned, you have to capture with the knight, but now bishop to h4 check, and the king can no longer defend the white queen. If you go to g1, then the queen can just be captured, but if you go to f1, then there's an even nicer queen captures on c1 check. The king has nowhere to go, you have to block with the queen, and then queen e1 is checkmate. So this is the kind of stuff that's happening here. So after this queen captures on c5, Tari went for knight captures on g5, but even this isn't enough. So feel free to pause the video and win this game for Alireza, as now black is completely winning. So while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, as I can't decide if this move is more difficult to find or the previous king to h1. They're kind of both difficult to find, so if you found either of them, you know, truly congratulations, you are an exceptional finder of great moves. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's not knight to e2 with check. This is what Alireza played in the game. We're gonna get back to that. The move that actually wins is bishop to e2. You have to play something because your knight is under attack here, and well, you have to play something. So here Alireza moved the knight with check, but rather bishop to e2 would have been better. You're attacking the rook and you're asking white, what do you play here? So if white doesn't want to lose material, white needs to move the knight. There are no discoveries, there are no checks, so you can take advantage of this you know, queen action here. So after rook to e1, defending, now you play rook to d1. A beautiful temporary queen sacrifice should have been played, and now you don't really have a good move here. Whatever you play, you either lose material, so you have to capture the queen, only move. Queen captures on c5, and now rook captures on e1 with check, leaving the white king with only one option, and that is king to f2, running into this wonderful fork. So knight to d3 with check, not only forking the king and the queen, but also guarding your rook on e1. So the king cannot capture, king e3, now knight captures on c5, and now you are completely winning. It's not that obvious because white can still win back the piece. King d2, rook to g1, hoping for winning some material, but also you could go for rook to g1, attacking the knight on g5. So after the knight moves, knight h3, attacking the rook, rook to a1 now, you just capture it. Or you could go even for rook to a1, even better. You have to give up the bishop, so it's not a problem. King captures on e2, you're just going to grab here with check, king to f3. Now you can grab this pawn, or you can go rook to b2 to grab this pawn to create two connected pass pawns here on the queen side. And here we can just play it out as it is very fun. Knight to e8, going for this pawn, hoping to create a pass pawn here. Rook captures on b3 with check, king g4, and now a5. And now the race is somewhat beautiful. Knight captures on g7, a4, h6, and now you have to take care of this pawn. So knight to d7. The thing is, if the pawn is pushed, just knight captures with check, followed by knight f7, guards the h8 square. So here, knight to g5, for example, but now a3. h7, and now knight captures on e5 with check, king to h5, and now the beautiful rook to h3 with check, taking getting this knight away from the f7 square. You have to move it as the knight is controlling the f7 square. You want to get your own knight here, or if the king moves, but the king cannot move as the knight covers these squares, so only move. Now knight to f7, blocking the queening square, king g6, knight delivers check, king to h6, and now you are queening your pawn. White is just too slow, captures a1 queen, and that's just it. Black wins. So this is a long line, but it's not a forced line. I just showed it because it's super fun. But if you find bishop to e2, then all of the lines are winning after bishop to e2. But here, Alireza played knight to e2 with check, and here after king to g2 by Ari, both of them agreed to a draw. The position is in fact a little bit better for white here, or draw. You know, it's between draw and maybe white is a little bit better. But Ari was around a minute on the clock when the game ended in a draw.
So of course, he was very happy with it. As Alireza is much higher rated than him, so very good stuff. But yeah, here it basically is a draw, because after black continues with something like queen d5 check, you can block it, knight g to e4, and now if there's another attacker added here, we could see queen captures on e2, bishop captures on e2 with check, and now king to g1, and now it's just even better position for white. There's no way to continue the attack. The white king is very safe. You cannot play rook d2 because the bishop is hanging, and if you try something like bishop to d3 to win material, then rook to f8 with check, king to c7, and queen to f3 now again forces a queen trade. If you move the queen, then just captures here. So we would see maybe a captures, and now we continue this game. White is up a pawn. It's a better position for white. But yeah, after king to g2, as Tari was extremely low on time, I think he was also very happy with a draw here. It was in this position that the players agreed to a draw. So a fair result. Like we said, in that position, after bishop to g5, king to h1 by Tari, bringing him, well, if not winning, winning with perfect play, but that means winning, a winning advantage. And also same for Alireza. After this knight to g5 move, he had bishop to e2. So both of them had, chances in this game, but in the end, even classical time control was not enough to calculate this very, very complicated game. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. That's the game. I would like to thank DV Dynamo, Siaran Farah, Louis Madison, Omar Dasa, and Ryan Urban for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing the coverage of the Tata Steel 2021, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.